"Will you walk me to school?" a little girl asked, a grumpy CEO millionaire holeth next door. The morning air was cool, wrapped in a light mist that blurred the lines between the houses. It was quiet on Maple Lane, except for the occasional rustle of leaves tumbling across the sidewalk. The neighborhood was modest, unassuming, except for the sleek, modern mansion that loomed at the end of the block. Its gate was always closed, its windows always dark. People called it the glass box. Inside lived Randy Blackwood. It's the elusive 33-year-old tech CEO known for being brilliant, reclusive, and utterly unapproachable. At 7:03 a.m., Randy ended a video call on his phone. His tone had been clipped, his jaw set as he issued final instructions to his overseas team. He was already dressed for the day. Tailored gray suit, polished shoes, Navity nodded with precision. He moved toward the foyer, ready to head to his next meeting. Then came the knock. 3 soft raps on the heavy wooden door. He frowned. Another knock, then silence. He opened the door. Standing on his front step was a little girl, no more than 4 years old. She had curly brown hair that framed her round face and large bright eyes that blinked up at him. A worn pink backpack hung off one shoulder. The fabric faded and frayed with a floppy bunny keychain dangling from the zipper. Randy stared. The girl smiled brightly. "Hi," she chirped. He blinked. "Can I help you?" "Yes," she said. "Will you walk me to school?" He looked around. There were no parents in sight, no siblings, no neighbors nearby. He looked back down at her. "What?" She pointed toward the street. "Schools just down the block. But Mommy had to leave early today. She said I could go by myself, but I do not want to. I saw your house and thought maybe you could walk with me. Just this once." Randy opened his mouth to decline automatically, instinctively. But the girl's face was so sincere, so open, that he hesitated. "I am a stranger," he said flatly. She shook her head. "No, you are Mr. Randy. You live next door." His jaw twitched. "Still a stranger. But Mommy says if ever need help, I can ask someone who looks like they have a job," she said seriously. "And you look like you have aerially big job," he exhaled, glancing at his watch. "What is your name?" "Carol," she answered. "I am 4. Of course she was. We hesitated. Then he muttered, "Fine, but just this once." Carol beamed. Before he could stop her, she reached up and took his hand in hers. Tiny warm fingers curling around his palm. She stepped off the porch, tugging him along. He let her. They walked past a row of houses. Neighbors peeked out from behind curtains. A man across the street froze with his coffee halfway to his mouth. A woman pruning her roses stared openly. There he was. Randy Blackwood, notorious for avoiding small talk in neighborhood events. Walking down the sidewalk hand-in-hand with a preschooler. Carol did not seem to notice the attention. She waved at a cat perched on a fence and skipped every third step like it was a game. "Your hand is cold," she said casually. "I am aware." She glanced up. "You do not smile much, do you?" "Oh, why not?" "No reason to," Carol thought for a second. "You should find one, Mommy says. Smiling is good for your heart." Randy gave a non-committal grunt. 2 blocks later, they reached a small yellow schoolhouse with a red door and colorful pinwheels spinning in the garden out front. "That is my school," she said proudly. She let go of his hand and adjusted the backpack strap that had slipped off her shoulder. Then she turned to him, eyes earnest. "Thank you, Mr. Randy." He gave a small nod. She took a few steps toward the gate, then turned back. "Will you walk me again tomorrow?" He paused. "We will see," he said. Carol grinned. "Okay." She skipped it through the gate. Randy stood there for a moment, then turned to leave. He did not look back, but for the first time in a long while, he felt the slightest weight shift in his chest, as if something had moved. The next morning, the knock came again. 3 taps, soft but certain. Randy opened the door without a word. There she was. Carol's same backpack, same curls, same unwavering confidence in her eyes. "Hi," she said. "You said maybe. So I thought maybe meant yes." He stared at her side and reached for his coat. She beamed. This time, when they walked down sidewalk, Carol started talking right away. My mommy works a lot, 3 jobs. She's always tired, but she still reads me stories every night. She says books are magic. Do you like books? I read technical manuals. That sounds boring, Carol said. Because it is, she laughed. I want to be the best reader in this world. It's like super duper reader. Maybe I will read on stage one day in front of 1,000 people with a microphone. He nodded, not sure what to say. They passed the same houses, Thesum, curious eyes peeking out. A dog barked from behind a gate, and Carol barked back. Randy said nothing, but a corner of his mouth twitched. Carol kept going. I'm going to read to people who don't have mommies or daddies. Some kids at school don't. That's really sad, right? He said nothing. Do you have a mommy? She asked. He hesitated. Not anymore. Me neither, she said quickly, then frowned. I mean, I have mommy, but no daddy. He left before I was born, so I guess I win in the sad apartment. She looked up at him as if waiting for a response. Chase stepped into the crosswalk. Carol looked both ways twice, just like her mother had taught her. Halfway across the street, she looked up again. You don't talk a lot, she said. I prefer not to. She considered that. That is okay, Mommy says. Good listeners make good friends. I am not your friend, Hare replied. She grinned. I know you are my walking buddy. He glanced down at her, unsure of how to respond. When they reached the sidewalk on the other side, Carol let go of his hand. She hopped ahead, then spun back around. You do not look like a daddy, she said. He raised an eyebrow. Is that so? But I think you could be a good one. Randy froze. For a moment, the wind stilled. The world quieted. Her words hit somewhere deeper than he expected, somewhere he had boarded up a long time ago. He looked at her, really looked at her. Carol was already walking again, humming something tuneless under her breath, backpack bouncing behind her, F aloud. And for the first time, he wondered what it would have been like if someone had walked him home. Not just once, but every day if someone had held his hand, waited with him in the rain, or simply told him he mattered. He said nothing. But when Carol looked back and smiled again, he did not look away. And again, Randy opened the door. This time, he did not hesitate. He grabbed his coat and followed her down the sidewalk, her hand slipping easily into his. She talked the whole way. When they reached the school, she tugged on his sleeve. Can I show you something after school tomorrow? He frowned. It's a surprise, she said, grinning. He said nothing. She waved and ran toward the red doors. That afternoon, Randy returned home early. Ash pulled into his driveway. He heard her voice bright and clear. Carol was walking down the sidewalk, holding a drawing swinging her back. She was not alone. A young woman followed behind, eyes sharp, her steps quick. Blonde hair pulled into a messy ponytail, Vidagins, a fast food uniform shirt. She looked tired and afraid. Randy stepped out of his car just as Carol shouted, Mr. Randy. She ran toward him, holding up the drawing. I drew us walking to school. Before he could respond, the woman caught up. Carol. The girl froze. The woman's eyes locked on Randy, suspicious, protective. She grabbed Carol's arm. What are you doing with my daughter? Randy raised his hands. She asked me to tow her to school. Yeah, that's not funny. It isn't a joke. I don't even know you, she snapped. And you've been walking my child? I live next door. She knocked on me door. Said you left early and didn't want to go alone. The woman looked down. Is that true? She asked Carol. Carol nodded. I asked him. He said yes. The woman's breath caught, her grip tightening, then loosening. Mommy, Carol whispered. He held my hand when I crossed the street. He made me feel safe. Her gaze flickered back too. Randy, for the first time, her expression softened. Safe? She asked. Carol nodded. The woman let out a long breath. I didn't mean to scare you, Randy said. I just did what she asked. You should have told me. I had no way to contact you. A long silence followed. Then she turned to Carol. Go inside, sweetie. I'll be right there. Carol hesitated, glanced at between them, then went up the steps. She crossed her arms. I'm Kelly, Randy. Ich know, she said quietly. Or talks about you. Says you wear a suit every day and never smile. He nearly smirked. Kelly studied him, blue eyes tired. Wary. I don't know why you said yes, but thank you. I don't know either. Another pause. A breeze lifted her hair, and she brushed it back. She hasn't smiled like that in a long time, Kelly said. Not since things got hard. I haven't seen her that excited in weeks. Ree's expression softened. To hold things together, she added, I work nights. I do what I can. I didn't usually let strangers near my kid. I understand.
But she trusts you?
That means something. Their eyes met for once. Neither looked away. It's not suspicion, not fear, just something honest, quiet. She gave a small nod. Anyway, thanks for walking her. He nodded. You're welcome. Kelly turned, paused, then glanced back. You really never smile. Not often. Well, she said softer now. You should try. Might surprise you. Then she disappeared inside. Randy stood alone on the sidewalk, staring at the closed door. And strangely, for the first time in a long while, he didn't want to go back inside. Randy did not walk Carol to school every day. Some mornings she was already gone. Other days he left earlier than usual. But her presence lingered in the silence. Of his house, in the rhythm of his footsteps, in the way her voice replayed in his mind at odd hours. He had told himself it was just curiosity, but it was more than that. One afternoon he passed the local park, a worn but well-loved patch of grass. With a crooked jungle gym, a rusting merry-go-round, and a pair of old swings. Carol had mentioned it once. That is my thinking spot, she had called it. Yes. Had lenched through the iron gate. He noticed one of the swings hung limp, one chain broken, the seat lying at an odd angle. Children played nearby, but none went near the broken swing. That night, long after the street lamps flickered on and the neighborhood went quiet, Randy returned. Dressed in jeans and a hoodie who'd pulled low, he carried a tool set in one hand, a flashlight in the other. He worked quietly, methodically unscrewing bolts, replacing the chain, reinforcing the frame. Morning, no. One would know who had fixed it, and that was that point. The next day, Kelly noticed. She stood at the edge of the playground, arms crossed, staring at the swing now gently swaying in the breeze. Carol ran to it immediately, giggling as she launched herself into the seat. Kelly smiled softly, then glanced around. No one had claimed credit. Later, she asked her daughter, Do you know who fixed that swing? Carol shrugged. Maybe my school. Walking friend did it. Kelly looked across the street toward the modern mansion with its tall hedges and mirrored windows. She said nothing. Over the next few days, Randy saw them often at the market, at the library, in passing. He never approached, just watched quietly. Carol always smiled, and slowly Randy found himself watching not just the child, but the woman. One afternoon, he walked past the park again. The sky was low with clouds, the air heavy with the scent of rain. He noticed a figure crouched near the fence, wearing gloves, holding a trash bag. It was Kelly Shuas, picking up litter, candy wrappers, broken bottles, old plastic bags. Her bland hair was tied back loosely, a few strands sticking to her cheek. Her uniform was wrinkled, her shoes were muddy. She looked exhausted. Randy stopped. She noticed him. You walk by Alad, she said, not unkindly. He stepped closer. I live nearby. Ich know. She went back to picking up trash. Without speaking, Randy bent down and began helping. They worked in silence, side by side. When the bag was full, they tossed it into a nearby bin. She sank onto the nearest bench with a tired sigh. After a moment, he joined her. I did not know. The city paid Piaplito clean the park, he said. They don't, she replied. This is one of my side jobs. Extra money for groceries. He nodded, absorbing that. She looked down at her hands. I clean offices in the morning, serve tables in the afternoon, and take night shifts at Thega's station. If I am lucky, I sleep 5 hours. That's too much. Probably Chassaid? Why not drop one? Callie looked at him, then gave a small, tired smile. Because Carol likes strawberry milk. It's the good kind, and books with hardcovers. Randy blinked, then unexpectedly. He laughed, quiet and genuine. It surprecedes them both. Kelly turned to face him more fully, eyes narrowing slightly. Who should laugh more, she said. Why wait? You look less terrifying when you do. Hesmold, just a little. I will take that as a compliment. She studied him. You're not what I expected. What did you expect? I do not know, she said. I'm young colder. Someone who ignores little girls on porches. I tried, he said. Shalad, a soft sound that made the park feel warmer. They sat there, the space between them quiet, but no longer empty. The sky above them darkened. So Marinaby Carol's laughter echoed as she swung higher and higher, the chains craking rhythmically. Randy looked at Kelly, and for the first time she looked back. Not like a mother sizing up a stranger, but like a woman seeing something else, something unexpected. Neither of them said a word, but something shifted between them that could not be undone. The rain started just after midnight. Randy was driving home from the office, his headlights cutting through the misty streets, when saw the crumpled figure by the side of the road. It was Kelly. She was half slumped against the wheel of a dented sedan, one hand clutching her side, her fast food uniform damp and stained, her hair stuck to her forehead, her eyes barely open. Randy slammed on the brakes. He was out of the car. In seconds, pulling the door open. Kelly, she blinked. Randy, what happened? It tired, lost control. I think my head hurts. You're bleeding. It's nothing. Carol's at home. I just need your going to the hospital, she tried to protest. But her body leaned toward him involuntarily. He caught her before she fell. Without another word, Randy lifted her into his arms. Rain soaked them both as he carried her to his car. At the hospital, nurses rushed her inside. Randy filled out paperwork with one hand while dialing Kelly's number with the other. No answer. Carol, she was at home alone. He left immediately. The key was hidden under the flower pot, Carol had once told him proudly. Mommy's secret hiding spot. When Randy stepped inside their tiny apartment, Carol sat curled up on the couch, hugging a stuffed bunny. Shell looked up, startled. Mr. Randy, your mom had a little accident. She's okay, but I need to take you to see. Her Carol's eyes welled with tears. Randy crouched down. She's awake. She asked about you. That was all it took. He wrapped her in a small blanket, carried her to the car, and buckled her in. She said nothing the whole way, just clutched the bunny and stared out at the rain. Inside the hospital room, Randy eased the door open. Kelly was sleeping, her head bandaged for drip hooked to her arm. Her breathing was steady now, peaceful. Carol tiptoed inside. Mommy? She rushed to the bed and took her mother's hand, tears falling freely now. Randy stepped back, giving them space. On. Hour passed. Carol eventually curled up beside her mom on the edge of the bed, but the nurses asked her to rest elsewhere. Randy took her into the waiting room and sat down, letting her settle on the couch beside him, sheckling to his arm. I'm scared, she whispered. I know, he said softly. Will Mommy be okay? She will. Carol laid her head on his chest, her small body finally giving in to exhaustion. Randy sat still, letting her breathe. Within minutes, she was asleep. He leaned back in the chair, on her around her tiny frame, the other supporting her bunny. The fluorescent lights above hummed gently, but the room felt quiet, warm. He did not remember falling asleep, but when Kelly opened her eyes later that night, that was the sight she saw. Her daughter fast asleep on Ree's chest. And Randy Blackwood, dozing off with his head tilted back, arms protectively around the little girl, as if she had always belonged there. Kelly watched them from the hospital bed. She did not call out, she just stared. The lines of tension on Reese's face were gone. His mouth, usually pressed tight, was relaxed. His hair was damp, slightly tousled. He looked exhausted and human and kind. Her chest tightened.
Ow.
Later he stirred and opened his eyes. Kelly met his gaze. Shoo whispered. He stood, careful not to wake Carol, and walked to her bedside. Shoo was alone, he said. I thought you'd want her here, I do? Thank you, Randy nodded. But then she said more softly, not just for that. He looked at her. Kelly's eyes filled with something deeper than fatigue. Thank you for making her feel like someone's there. Bry's expression shifted. He started to say something, but then simply murmured. Loved, she nodded, blinking back tears. I didn't ask you to, she added, but you did.
You're sat.
In the chair beside her, close enough now to see the lines of worry fade slightly from her face, they were quiet, and for the first time, there was no judgment, no fear, no barrier, just understanding, just them. The storm did not begin with thunder or lightning. It started with whispers. At first it was one blurry photo, a man in a gray suit holding hands, with a little girl in a pink backpack, then another taken outside the hospital of Randy standing beside a tired blonde woman, hand on her shoulder. Then came the headlines. TECHCO's secret visits to single mother spark questions. Who is the mystery woman with Randy Blackwood? Blog speculated. From exploded. A journalist tracked down Kelly's workplace and left a business card asking for comment. Another treato. Speak with Carol outside her school. The quiet life she had worked so hard to protect began to unravel. At the diner, where she worked the breakfast shift, her manager pulled her aside. You didn't tell me you're involved with Blackwood, he said, frowning. Yes. This place doesn't need that kind of attention. I'm not involved with Annie, and Kelly said. Firmly, doesn't matter. Customers are talking. Cameras out front this morning. This is a small place. We can't afford drama. That afternoon, she was let go. By the next evening, Ree's board had summoned him for an emergency video call. Your personal life is bleeding into the brand, one executive snapped. You're jeopardizing our IPO, said another. This woman, this waitress, is being painted as some kind of scandal. She's not a scandal, Randy replied sharply. She's a liability, someone countered. You're the face off this company. We cannot afford sentimentality. He ended the call without another word. He wanted to scream. Instead, he paced, then stopped, then reached for his car keys. But when he arrived at Kelly's apartment, no one answered the door. The next night, it rained. Randy stepped outside too. Take out his trash hood pulled up against the downpour. As he reached the bins, he saw her. Kelly stood at the end of the alley, holding her own trash bag, soaked to the bone. They both froze. Without a word, they ducked under the nearest awning. That space was small, barely wide enough for two. Water streamed off the edges of Thetan roof, hitting the ground with rhythmic splashes. Kelly's arms were-wrapped around herself. Her shoulders trembled. Whether from cold or something else, he could not tell. With a hesitation, Randy took off his coat and draped it over her. She looked up in surprise. You'll get wet? I'm already wet. Her eyes searched his face. Silence settled between them. Finally, she whispered, Aren't you tired? Hef frowned. Of what? Of this? Of me, Carol? The mess? The attention? His answer came without hesitation. For the first time in my life, he said, I don't feel empty. She looked away, Ringe listening on her lashes. I never wanted this for her, she said. I didn't want cameras outside her school, people whispering. My daughter deserves peace. You didn't do this, he said. I did, but she'd be the one who pays for it, Kelly whispered, voice breaking. Randy moved slightly closer, instinctively, but she turned her face away. He stopped. The space between them, so narrow under the awning, suddenly felt like a chasm. Kelly wiped her eyes with the sleeve of his coat. I've fought for years to keep her life normal, she said, and now I'm the reason it isn't. You're not. She looked at him, and in her gaze was something torn. Fear, gratitude, longing. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then just as Randy took a breath, as if to close the space between them, Kelly turned her head. I should go. He didn't stop her. She walked away without looking back, his coat still draped over her shoulders. The next morning, Randy opened his front door to find a note taped there. The handwriting was careful, familiar. Thank you for everything, but Carol deserves peace. Please forget us. He read it once, then again the paper blurred in his hands. Not. From Rain, Randy stopped Anne's wrinkles. The press demanded statements. His board demanded clarity. His assistant scheduled a press conference. He canceled it. He had no words for any of them. Instead, he stayed home alone in his glass and stone fortress, letting silence stretch around him like armor. On his desk, untouched since the night everything fell apart, sat a small pink backpack, prayed at the edge's Abercon zipper. The bunny keychain dangled loosely, still smiling. Carol had left it in his car after the hospital visit. He had meant to return it, but now he could not bring himself to let it go. Every time he looked at it, he remembered her hand in his smells, certain her voice calling out his name on the sidewalk. Her laugh echoing through the park. Then he remembered Kelly, the way she knelt in the grass, tying Carol's shoes, the way she carefully gathered her daughter's hair into a ponytail with quiet tenderness. He had watched them once from across the playground unnoticed. She had smiled softly at Carol, tucking a curl behind her ear. Her eyes had been tired, but full of love. She's strong enough toast and alone, Randy thought, but gentle enough to make you never want to leave. He sat at his desk, staring at the backpack, unsure how the emptiness around him had grown so loud. Every evening after that, just before dusk, Randy walked to the park. Not to sit, not to speak, just to stand near the fence, hidden behind a tree, watching. Sometimes he saw children playing, but not her. Other days he saw Kelly walking alone, her blonde hair tucked beneath a hood, her steps heavy, no Carol by her side. He never approached. He could not. Days passed, week, maybe 2, and yet the backpack remained on his desk. He moved once, intending to put it away, but the moment his hand touched the fabric, he froze. It did not feel like an object. It felt like a memory, or promise. He carried it back to the desk hand, left it there. In the stillness of his office, beneath the endless calls he continued to ignore, Randy allowed himself to admit the truth he had been avoiding. He did not just want to protect them, did not just want to fix what he had broken. He wanted to belong with them. He wanted to sit beside Kelly on a park bench and hear her laugh without fear in her eyes. He wanted to walk Carol to school every morning and hear her talk about books and bunnies and dreams. He wanted to be part of something of them. It's not out of duty, but because when he had held that little hand and when he had seen Kelly's eyes meet his in the hospital, something inside him had shifted. It had grown roots. He was alone, but he knew exactly where he wanted to be. And for the first time, in the quiet of his glass house, Randy whispered something aloud, only to himself. I miss them. Then he picked up the backpack and held it, close as if it were a compass, pointing him back to where he had left his heart. The rain came softly that morning, steady, quiet, like Thorold was holding its breath. Randy stood outside the preschool gate, rain soaking through his jacket, hair matted his forehead. He didn't seek cover. In his hand, wrapped in clear plastic, was a brand new pink backpack, bright zippers, a smiling bunny stitched on the front. Just like the one Carol had loved, only better. Whole. He had gone to 3 stores to find it. Children's. Voices echoed faintly from the building, muffled by rain. He waited, then the doors opened. Kids spilled out in coats and boots. Parents rushing in with umbrellas. Carell appeared in a yellow raincoat too big for her shoulders. She looked around, then froze. Her face lit up. She pointed. That's my school-walking friend. Randy exhaled. Carol ran to him. Kelly followed a few steps behind until she saw him. She stopped, eyes wide, uncertain. Randy knelt, holding out the backpack. This one's for you, Carol squealed. Etha's the bunny, he smiled. Zipper works this time. She threw her arms around his neck. Missed you, she whispered. He held her tightly as rain fell gently around them. Then Kelly approached slowly. Her hair was damp, her eyes locked on his. Why are you here? She asked. Randy stood brushing. Rain dropped from his brow. He looked at her. I don't want to be just a neighbor anymore. Kelly's breath caught. I want to be family. She said nothing. Stepped closer. I didn't know what family meant, but I saw you. How you love her, how you fight for her. And I saw Carol. I held her hand. I carried her. For the first time, something made sense. Tears filled Kelly's eyes. I've lived in houses with 10 bedrooms and still felt alone. But with you two, I finally understood what it means to belong. Kelly whispered, I'm scared off of men, being a footnote, a mistake, just a mark in the margins. He reached for her hand. He said, You're the first page, the one I want to write the rest of my life around. A tear rolled down her cheek. Don't have anything to give you, she said. It's just this life, this struggle. You've already given memoir,